Hello, I'm Daymia Rousseau, a UCSC Intern reporting for KSQD. In 2023, Santa Cruz County experienced one of the worst storms in the city's history. In cities like Capitola, streets were flooded, waves crashed into various businesses, and the wharf was destroyed. Meteorologists called it a bomb cyclone with lots of rain and wind. As Santa Cruz County endures storm season once again, many coastal communities remain anxious about another natural disaster, or how California's coast will handle storms as sea levels rise.
What's going to be more problematic in the relatively near term, till maybe 2050 or 2075, will be these short-term extreme events like we witnessed the last 3 winters. So really high tides and really large waves.
That's Gary Griggs, professor of Earth and Planetary Sciences at UCSC. He's an author, scientific reporter, and board member of the Ocean Science Trust. Professor Griggs is an expert in climate modeling and sea level rise. His recent research has also projected a 0.5 to 1.2 foot sea level rise by the year 2050. With this change, what might our future coastline look like?
Yeah, so we really have maybe 3 different sorts of coastal environments. One is the coastal mountains plunging thousands of feet to the water. There, a foot or 2 doesn't really make any difference. Then we have places like much of Santa Cruz County that we have these coastal marine terraces, these flat benches, and then we may have a beach in front of it, we may not. But what happens as sea level continues to rise and storms continue to rise, we erode back that bluff. West Cliff maybe being the best local example. The third, where we will see this the most, probably the clearest, are the low-lying areas that are nearly at sea level now. And if we look at, say, the waterfront of Santa Cruz, Main Beach, Seabright Beach, particularly Capitola and Rio del Mar, that are virtually at sea level. Many of the homes and businesses were built on the beach. So those are the places where a foot can make a big difference.
2023 saw intense storm damage at places like West Cliff Drive, where whole sections of roadway fell into the sea. The city of Santa Cruz has established a 5-year roadmap to monitor sea level rise and minimize eroding effects of storms. This includes a new coastal change monitoring network, incentivized storm water management, and infrastructure redesign. Each project could cost upwards to tens of millions of dollars. Additionally, beaches like Capitola and Rio del Mar will be more susceptible to flooding and sand buildup all year, not just in the winter.
We've got this preoccupation with sea level rise, but we need to keep in mind these short-term events, which are going to be much more problematic.
Michael W. Beck, the director of the UCSC Center on Coastal Climate Resilience, raised concerns about sea level rise impacts on marine wildlife, as well as coastal communities. In a 2024 article, he stated, quote, "It's not just a bummer for future summer vacations. Our beaches also provide a natural buffer from flooding, erosion, and other natural disasters for millions of California residents." Professor Griggs, however, is not so sure all of these beaches will provide a buffer when the really big storms hit.
A lot of his work is based on the tropics, where we have coral reefs and mangroves that live in salt water that do provide this natural buffer. So if we have a really wide beach, I'm going to pick Seabright Beach, or even Main Beach, Boardwalk Beach, Cowell Beach, they definitely provide a buffer. By the time you get to Capitola in the winter, there's not much there, and as you saw, the waves come over that little seawall into downtown, into the restaurants. I'm less optimistic in my consideration of how important those beaches are. They're definitely important, but when you get a big winter, all bets are off. Capitola's been hit with probably 15 major storms in the last century.
As of January 5th, intense winds and flooding have damaged much of Santa Cruz Harbor and East Cliff Drive. They've also collapsed a huge portion of West Cliff Drive, sabotaging 2 years of reconstruction efforts. It begs the question, why do homeowners and city planners continue to fund reconstructive efforts when storms undo them? Is California in a losing battle with a shrinking coastline?
But we have what I call sort of disaster amnesia. Insurance begins to weigh in here. As long as you can keep getting insured, and I think the federal flood insurance program is beginning to back by and say, wait a minute, we can't keep reinsuring places. So I think definitely sea level rise raises the risks, particularly in low-lying areas, and it also brings waves closer to the shoreline for areas like even West Cliff.
In light of all that, and considering places like Capitola or even like Rio del Mar, what do you believe the future of California coastal housing might look like as this continues? I can already tell from that laugh.
There's a great book, if you haven't seen it, and actually it's by Rosanna Shaw, and it's called California Against the Sea. She talks to a number of coastal communities, and she doesn't have a viewpoint. She's just trying to see how people feel about it. There's those people who live in these cities that are never going to move back. They don't want to retreat. And then there's the people like engineers and geologists saying this is going to happen again and again. It's not safe. And I work for a lot of coastal homeowners who are trying to build seawalls, trying to repair seawalls, wondering if they should sell their house. There's clearly a limited number of choices how we deal with it. One is denial. That's what they do in Florida. The second is what we've been doing for the last century is armor. And basically there's nothing we can do over the long run to hold back the Pacific Ocean.
The city's short-term responses, such as reconstruction efforts and importing sand to beaches like Rio Del Mar with federal budgets, seem like short-term fixes. Will the idea of a planned retreat eventually take hold? Or will the cycle continue as is? Stay tuned for the next atmospheric river to find out. Thanks for listening. This is Daymia Rousseau, UCSC Intern, reporting for KSQD.